Hello and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is Host Eric. I am the host of Talking with Famous People, and tonight I will be answering a question from a viewer. It was on a video entitled, "How can you tell an unhealthy from a healthy ENTP?" And the reason it was titled that was because that was the core question that this particular video answered that I'm referencing. So Noah asked the question on the video, what do you think if you are an unhealthy ENTP? How do you fix this? What do you do if you think you are one, And how can you address it? I think it's a good question. I think it's an interesting question. And I think it's a much more nuanced question than it might at first appear to be. So, foremost, let me say I don't like the words healthy and unhealthy in relation to people or types or in general. I don't like the idea of medicalizing, pathologizing someone's behavior it's a very black and white tactic, right? You're saying, look, we're not talking about an argument. You're not making arguments anymore. Like, well, maybe your side's right, maybe my side's right. You've got a disease of some sort. There's something wrong with you. And so I dislike it inherently because of what it does as an argument, what it tries to claim as an argument. It tries to exempt itself from argumentation from the person it making accusations against. Excuse me again. So, when I'm asked this question, it gave me some pause to think about it. Well, now all of a sudden it's a different matter. It's not a diagnosis somebody's putting upon you. It's something you're considering might be true for yourself. Okay, well, that is a very different matter and ought to be treated as such. At the same time, we want to make sure that when we're feeling that way, that we are not internalizing some elements of status quo standards of behavior and expectations that are not worthy of being internalized. So even though an individual might choose to self-diagnose as not in a good place right now, and that's probably going to be accurate, why they're not in a good place is an important thing to know before answering the question, how do you fix it? I don't remember what I said in that video that you commented on. I don't remember what I said in unhealthy or a healthy ENTP looks like, but I will tell you right now what I think at the moment. First of all, let me say this. If to any extent you feel as though your behavior is a threat to others or yourself, you have a pattern of violence, self-harm, stuff like that, then in those cases, I think there's more of a cause to say those behaviors are unhealthy and not acceptable. That action must be taken to change the way you are behaving. And that feeling bad about those things is an appropriate response exactly insofar as it motivates one to stop engaging in those behaviors. Neither of those things are acceptable. When you're talking about physical harm to others or to yourself, they're not acceptable. If you're not talking about that, and most people aren't, if you're just talking about feeling as though you are unhealthy, then again we get back to the question of why and what it means to call yourself unhealthy versus, say, unlucky or unhappy or unsuccessful. So usually when we say we talk about being an unhealthy whatever, first of all note that most people, if they were to compare me to any normal standard, would call me a desperately unhealthy person. Unwell on many different vectors. Somebody who's unhealthy physically, in the sense of I smoke and I don't exercise and I eat fast food all the time, drink nothing but soda. A long time history of an unhealthy relationship with drugs and alcohol. Certainly an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, which I no longer consume. I still am somebody who consumes stuff that people consider intoxicants, maybe, like marijuana. For somebody who's been smoking it for as long as I have, it doesn't really have that kind of intoxicating effect on me. Your brain gets pretty used to it after a while. It doesn't have a great deal of impact. But nevertheless, it's something I persist in doing. A lot of people would say that's unhealthy. I take prescription drug for my ADHD. That is basically amphetamines, speed. So a lot of people would say, if you wanted to paint me in the worst possible light, you'd say I'm one of the least healthy people you've ever seen. I live in what appears to be squalor at first glance anyway. I smoke, eat fast food, smoke marijuana, do amphetamines. Fucking Compton. I rarely get any exercise. I display fits of anger on occasion. I mean, the thing is, if you want to paint me in the worst possible light and talk about all the various failures I have in my life, it's easy to call me terribly, terribly unhealthy. I don't view myself that way. And what's odd is there are a lot of people who probably view me as more close to optimal self-functioning than a lot of people. I think I am successfully perceived that way. I think I've succeeded in being perceived that way, which is something I wanted to be perceived as, probably. I'm guessing. I don't really make any plans or anything, remember, but obviously you'd rather be perceived as wise in some sense than as unwise. A lot of this has to do with extroverted feeling stuff or social displays. So displays of security don't seem much like displays at all. They just seem like almost the absence of displays, because there's a comfort and a certainty there are angles which you can work to feel good about yourself. There are things going on in your life that you're excited about. Those are the most important things to being a happy ENTP. Is that a healthy ENTP? Not if you ask most people. But then a lot of people will say about the ENTP in question, well, for most people that would be really unhealthy, but for him it seems to be fine. You'll hear that kind of stuff out of people who disapprove. They make exceptions for us. People make all kinds of exceptions for us all the time. It's surprising. It always surprises me how little there is holding up the status quo understanding of things. You just got to go like that and it falls over. Nobody knows why, is the thing. So if you need to feel good about yourself, if that's the issue, and again, I don't know if Noah asked this question in relation to himself or not. It could have nothing to do with him. It could be just all about hypothetical question that seems interesting to him. Maybe he's not even an ENTP. I don't know. But if you are an ENTP and you're on the younger side and you're trying to feel good about yourself, the best thing you can do is some kind of meaningful work. Whatever it is you like to work on. If it's media of some sort, then you should do that for sure. You should not worry about the quality of the work. You should worry about the completion of the work. Just get something done. Even if it's kind of half-assed. As long as you say, okay, well, that's done. That one put to bed, I want to move on to the next thing. Yeah, it's kind of half-assed. We'll call it, I'll just title it proof of concept or something like that. So it's not expected to be so clean. And push it out. Whatever medium, whatever kind of thing it is you're doing, whatever kind of work it is you're doing, make something that lasts. Something that doesn't need to be maintained or else it disappears. So, I don't want to do a good piece of work by putting on a juggling performance. Unless its purpose is to make a video of me doing the juggling performance and put it up on YouTube, because then that's a finalized thing that stays put. It doesn't go away. It doesn't need to be maintained. It has at least some small potential of having some kind of long tail, ongoing benefit to you. Maybe one view every 3 weeks. Who knows? Maybe one view every 3 months. But at least it's something that persists in doing work for you when you're not doing anything. If you can complete those things, they become anchors of your identity. And you start to realize that you've got to stop worrying about being and start worrying about doing. And come back to being later. Worry about doing. That's it. That's all I got. That's the only actual meaningful advice I could give you. Or anybody else who might be asking the question. Thanks for watching.